Tell me about cold water diving, Melissa.
I absolutely love it. I really do.
Diving in Alaska is full of adventure and full of new, untapped, unmanned adventures.
A lot of these dive sites that we're going to and exploring were some of the first divers to get in the water and get down to the bottom and see some of the stuff that's out there.
There's a daunting amount of diving to do in Alaska. I mean, it's 3 million lakes or more. I mean, that was one.
I didn't toss that.
My shit. Taking it?
I mean, it all started out with, the what if question, looking at a map and thinking like, well, diving doesn't have to stop in winter. So what if we kept going out to the mountains to do our diving?
Prepping for cold water diving is unique. You're preparing not only for the temperatures, but you're preparing for the fact that all of your logistics may be a bit further away. In Alaska specifically, we're just a bit further from a dive shop, we're a bit further from a warm house, we're a bit further from somewhere to get fresh food, fresh water, and stuff like that. The prepping is much like most things in Alaska. We are getting ready to do things that are just a bit more extreme.
So I look at every expedition, differently. What was I going to bring, and not to bring too much. So some people with lesser backcountry experience. So I wanted to make sure that if things go sideways, we'd still be good. Some extra food, extra fuel, switch stoves up. For hypothermia, set up an extra hypo wrap, because as we know, that area gets really windy and might not be able to get a bird in. So if we had to drag somebody out in the middle of the night or after a dive that went wrong, we'd be all right, not a statistic.
That's the stuff that makes it fun, having to plan all those logistics, having to be able to track through everything, making sure you're safe, planning for contingencies, managing what things you can and cannot do, and then just approaching it with just the zeal that all of these divers who are joining us and who are going have, this zeal for exploration, the idea that you are the first person to ever hike out, cut a hole in a lake in the middle of nowhere and free dive it, to be the first person to ever do that, not only ice diving in the mountains, but free diving, ice diving in the mountains while overnight camping in the middle of winter, is something that's just a bit more extreme, and it speaks a lot to the character of the people who go, which is really cool.
With the face of like, this is as good as it gets, and I'm saying, don't say it.
With the
Wrap it in a face
wow.
so it stays together. Yeah. I'll jump in behind Chris, I guess.
The breath of the morning, I keep forgetting the smell of the warm summer air. I live in a town where you can't smell a thing. You watch your feet for cracks in the pavement. All up above, aliens hover, making home movies for the folks back home of all these weird creatures who lock up their spirits, draw holes in themselves, and live for their secrets. 'Cause they're all uptight, 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 well, I wish that they'd swoop down in a country lane late at night when I'm driving, and then take me on board their beautiful ship. Show me the world as I'd love to see. Well, I tell all my friends, but they'd never believe me. They think that I'd finally lost it completely. Showing them the stars and the meaning of life. Show me the way, but I'd be alright. I'm alright. I'm just uptight, uptight,
So this trip had a lot of interesting hurdles when it came to logistics, planning, and some of the concerns. While it helped that it's winter and we can pull sleds behind us, 'cause there's a lot of equipment that we need to bring out. The concerns behind that too is, well, with winter comes the cold temperatures. So we had to make sure we had somewhere warm as a backup if something were to happen. If somebody was get too cold and can't warm up. So we had an ice fishing tent with a heater. It is very cold. It is icy. It is Alaska backcountry. Bears technically are asleep, but they can still be awake. So there's a lot of concerns with the backcountry winter side, mainly with the hypothermia, getting too cold.
I had done a little bit of wintertime camping. I'm familiar. I'm comfortable in the mountains, but I had never really planned or prepped for anything quite like this.
We did make a little igloo on the side of our tents for the wind, which is very interesting. And I remember when we were doing that, I'm like, this is life. This is awesome.
Well, if I can still feel it, we're warming up.
Everything, as soon as we marched out, we didn't really stop, right? We got right to the campsite. As soon as we got to the campsite, we started making camp. We started clearing off the hole, augured down to see how thick the ice was going to be. And then after that, we still had to feed ourselves. And so we made a little bit of dinner in the tent and then prepped for a really early morning. As soon as that happened, we were working with it.
Crystal clear skies, awesome time. We got out there right on time. Everything was working out. And it was really cool because even then, with everything, getting everything done, getting everything set, getting all of the gear set, the tents up, the prep work for the hole, by the time we're done, we're tired. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to get it set. It's a lot of work to do it well and to do it safely.
We're not even close. There's a bunch at the bottom of there still.
We spent 5, almost 6 hours trying to cut this hole through 4 feet of ice with a couple of hand saws. We were all on rotation cutting this hole, and it was just backbreaking work.
One, two, three. Spotters.
We were just getting ready to pull the last block of ice out of the hole. You know, I'm still in all my winter gear. I'm still in layers. And Alex looks at me and Jordan and he goes, "Jordan, JD, get your suits on." And me and Jordan kind of looked at each other and we were like, "Oh, it's happening. It's real." And there was this moment of, holy crap, it's all coming together. This is why we're here. We're getting in the water. We're the first ones in the water.
It is happening. It is real. We're in the moment. Like, we are doing this. Like, we are going to make it a solid attempt.
And it was such an amazing feeling to be able to, you know, get our suits on, be all crispy and cold, run to the water, you know, have it be negative 20 outside, but 30 degrees in the water, 33 degrees, and actually warm up getting in the water. It all happened so fast. There was hardly any time to think. There was just a lot of time to experience.
The first time sticking my face in the water, and we didn't have dive lights, and it was just a dark abyss opening out. You couldn't see that. I mean, we're in 25 feet of water. The visibility, once we got the lights up, you know, you could see the bottom with the lights. Without the lights, you couldn't see anything. It was just, you know, suspenseful, like horror movie almost.
there's just something about it for me that when I go under the water, as soon as my head breaks the surface and I start descending, my lights turn out and I just become comfortable in my own skin. I find peace, I find joy, I find serenity like I've never really experienced outside of the water. And for me that's such an attractive feeling that I've never really gotten to feel or experience anywhere else. And when I get to go under the water, it's just home for me. I feel better under the water than I do on the surface. I don't have fear, I don't have anxiety, I don't have stress at work. I don't think about anything other than just being in the moment and just loving myself and loving where I am.
That's sick. That's fucking so sick.
By the time we're in the hole, life is good. We're free diving. We're at the bottom. The world is peaceful. It's quiet. You can look up and you can hear everyone walking on the ice. You can see the shadows through 4 feet of ice. You can see the shadows of people standing. You can see the shadows of the tent. And it's just quiet. The water's crystal clear and it's just your world. And nothing really compares to that feeling of just being not alone, but being at peace with everything that's around you, and all the people that are around you feel like they're part of that.
Don't let me down. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. Nobody ever loved me like she does. Ooh, she does. Yes, she does. And if somebody loved me like she do me, ooh, she do me, she done me good. Don't let me down. 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 And from the first time that she really done me, ooh, she done me good. I guess nobody ever really done me, ooh, she done me good. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. Well, I'm in love for the first time. Don't you know it's gonna last? It's a love that lasts forever. It's a love that had no past. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. Don't let me down.
It was very serene, and looking up onto the ice was so magical. And it was like, wow, like how many humans are doing this right now? And I get to do this with these amazing people, and I'm under here and I'm touching this ice, and it's almost like it's mine, and I get to own it. And it was just absolutely ethereal, very at one with everything.
Getting out of the water, the reflection of just kind of like, we did that. And like, once we got the whole packed up and we had all of our gear packed on the sleds, and I mean, I was talking to JD, and JD, like, all he wanted to do was just give me a big hug, because, you know, I was like, it's all, you know, all this stuff and all this planning and all this hard work that we did is coming together, and we finally got to do it. We did it successfully.
The area we were at is right below what's referred to as the Windy Gap. The Windy Gap is known to have wind changes of 50, 60 miles per hour at the drop of a hat. And so it's an area that funnels a lot of weather.
It took me a couple days for me to really feel warm after that.
I feel good. I feel slightly better. And I don't know quite how to elaborate on that, besides, you know, just sharing that after a trip like this, you know, I feel like I've accomplished something. I feel like I pushed my limits harder than I have in a very, very, very long time. And to be able to experience something like that and go through something like that and get out the other side still with a smile on my face.
By the time we started getting back to the car, it's like a load sloughs off your shoulders as everything you see all these people, and I'm at the back of the group, and I'm walking and I'm talking with Frank, and we're having a conversation, and he's just, I'm sitting there like, I'm impressed with every single person who came out here. Like, what a beautiful bunch of lunatics who would think it's a good idea to hike out 5 miles dragging sleds in the middle of winter in -20 in Alaska, cut a hole through 4 feet of ice, put suits on, jump in that hole, and then walk back the next day. And just the mindset and the joy of being surrounded by people who have that same idea and that same mentality of just, hey, this is something I can do, and I see the challenge and I accept it. And that is just good. It was awesome.
Well, get down, boys, go back home, back to the girl you love. Well, treat her right, never wrong. How mountain gals can love. Well, get down, boys, go back home, back to the girl you love. Treat her right, never wrong. How mountain gals can love. Well, I remember the night when we strolled down the lane, our hearts.
What projects do you guys think are going to be on the horizon? What's the next one? Is there another Rabbit Lake?